How do you survive 3 days in the belly of a fish? Well, Jonah did. The wind carried the smell of salt across the busy harbor as ships creaked against wooden docks. Sailors hurried back and forth, tying ropes, loading cargo, and shouting orders over the crashing waves. Somewhere in the middle of all that noise stood a man named Jonah. Now, Jonah wasn't just an ordinary traveler. He was a prophet, someone chosen to carry messages from God. And one day, God gave Jonah a mission that made his stomach twist into knots. "Jonah," God said, "go to the great city of Nineveh and tell the people to turn away from their wicked ways." Nineveh was famous, and not in a good way. It was a powerful city, filled with people known for cruelty and violence. To Jonah, going there felt like walking straight into danger. And if Jonah was being honest, he didn't really want them to receive God's mercy anyway. So Jonah made a choice. Instead of going east toward Nineveh, he ran west, far west, as far away as he could possibly go. Jonah hurried down to the port city of Joppa, where a large ship was preparing to sail. The tall wooden mast stretched high into the sky, and the sails flapped loudly in the wind. "Where's this ship headed?" Jonah asked a sailor. "Tarshish," the sailor replied. "Perfect." Tarshish was practically on the other side of the world. Jonah quickly paid his fare, stepped onto the ship, and found a quiet place below deck. As the ship pushed away from the dock and sailed into the open sea, Jonah finally relaxed. Problem solved, he probably thought. But there's one important thing Jonah forgot. You can run from a place, but you can't run from God. Out on the open sea, the sky began to darken. The wind picked up. Then suddenly, whoosh! A violent storm exploded across the water. Waves rose like giant walls crashing against the ship. The wooden deck groaned and tilted as the sailors scrambled in panic. "Throw the cargo overboard," one shouted. Heavy crates splashed into the sea as the crew desperately tried to keep the ship from sinking. Each sailor prayed to his own God, hoping someone, anyone, would stop the storm. But the wind only howled louder. The waves grew higher. The ship rocked harder. Meanwhile, down below deck, Jonah was fast asleep. While the storm raged and the sailors fought for their lives, Jonah lay curled up in the darkness, completely unaware. The captain rushed down the stairs, water dripping from his beard. He shook Jonah awake. "How can you sleep at a time like this?" he shouted. "Get up, pray to your God. Maybe he will save us." The sailors gathered on the deck and cast lots to figure out who had brought this disaster upon them. One by one, the lots fell, and every single one pointed to Jonah. The sailors stared at him. "Who are you?" one demanded. "What have you done?" Jonah sighed and looked out at the raging sea. "I worship the Lord," he said, "the God of heaven, who made the sea and the land." The sailors' eyes widened. "And I'm running away from him." For a moment, nobody spoke. Then one sailor asked the question everyone was thinking. "Why would you do that?" Jonah looked at the towering waves crashing against the ship. "If you want the storm to stop," he said quietly, "throw me into the sea." The sailors didn't want to do it. But finally, with the ship moments from breaking apart, the sailors prayed. "Lord, please don't hold us responsible for this man's life." Then they lifted Jonah and tossed him into the sea. The moment Jonah hit the water, the storm stopped. The wind disappeared. The waves settled into a calm, gentle rhythm. But Jonah was sinking deeper and deeper beneath the surface. The cold ocean wrapped around him as darkness closed in. Then suddenly, something enormous moved beneath him. A giant fish surged up from the depths and swallowed Jonah whole. And just like that, Jonah found himself in the strangest place imaginable, inside the belly of a fish. It was damp, and it probably smelled absolutely terrible. For 3 long days and 3 long nights, Jonah sat there in the quiet darkness. No ship, no sailors, no running, just Jonah and God. And in that stillness, Jonah finally did something he should have done from the very beginning. He prayed. "In my distress I called to the Lord," Jonah said, "and he answered me." Jonah realized something important in that fish's belly. Running from God hadn't brought freedom. It had only brought storms. But turning back to God? That brought hope. Jonah continued praying and he made a promise to God. And at that exact moment, the giant fish turned and swam toward the shore. Then, with a sudden heave, blurp! The fish spit Jonah out onto the sandy beach. Jonah rolled across the shore, soaked, covered in seaweed, and probably smelling like the world's worst seafood dinner. But he was alive. And this time, he was ready to listen. Then God spoke again. "Jonah," he said, "go to the great city of Nineveh and deliver the message I gave you." This time, Jonah didn't argue. He didn't run. He obeyed. Jonah walked into the city of Nineveh and began proclaiming the message God had given him. 40 days from now, he warned, Nineveh will be overthrown. Something surprising happened. The people listened. From the poorest citizens to the most powerful leaders, the message spread through the city like wildfire. The people prayed. They fasted. They turned away from their evil ways. And God showed them mercy. And that's what makes Jonah's story so unforgettable. It isn't really about a giant fish. It's about running and returning. Jonah tried to run from God's plan. But God never stopped pursuing him. Not in the storm. Not in the sea. Not even in the belly of a fish. And when Jonah finally turned back, God gave him another chance. Because sometimes the place that feels like the end is actually the place where a new beginning begins. And that's the incredible story of Jonah the runaway prophet, the giant fish, and the God who never stops giving second chances. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Until next time, keep exploring the scriptures, one tale at a time.